This is Prep Period, an all-sports podcast by the Ventura County Star and the people at VCS Preps.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Prep Period, the Ventura County Star's all preps, all sports podcast. My name is Dominic Massimino. He is Joe Curley. We are sports reporters here at the Ventura County Star. 6 episodes in, Joe. We're doing this thing. We are rolling. Tell me how you've been doing. We've been chatting, but tell the people how you've been doing.
I've been doing great. Looking forward to getting into league play here in a couple weeks, and we're really kind of getting into the key parts of the fall season and some of the other sports. So there is a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about at least 4 sports today, multiple levels. We've got some breaking news. We got a guest, so we've got a lot to get to, and so how we do it on Prep Period.
We're cooking. We're cooking today. We got a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to start, as we always do, with the kind of wrap up of last week's football games. But before we get started, we got to give Joe Stradamus his flowers. We gotta. You see him over there to my. I guess he's to my left, to my right on the viewer view. Oh, yeah. 17-0 this week for the first time for Joe Stradamus. Nailed every single pick.
Yeah, I have to double check. Pretty sure it's the first time I've gone undefeated. I'm sure Lauren and Derry had their undefeated weeks. And I was very close to going undefeated the previous week. So, I think a lot of that is just, once you get to 3-4 weeks into the season, we start to know the teams more. There's more data coming in. Part of it was the slate. It was kind of, the degree of difficulty in the picks was, I thought wasn't that tough, although I did go against Cal Preps on like 3 or 4 picks. So Cal Preps was not perfect last week. So, you do need some human element. It is good to have some reporting and some expertise and to watch the game with your eyes rather than just the scoreboard, right? Just the numbers. So
if you're looking back at whatever evening it was, you were, grinding away, trying to make those hard decisions. Was there one looking back now that kind of like you wrestled with and you made the right call? Was there any that kind of jumped out to you?
There's almost always one where I'll change. I'll go back and forth. I'll tinker, so to speak. And you get kind of worried that you're going to, it's going to come back to bite yourself. But the way I do it is I go through and pick everything off gut and then do my research. Then fine-tune the scoring a little bit. And so, there's a process to it. And this was, I think, the first week all season where once I did reporting, I didn't flip any of it. It was all the picks were purely on gut. And there was a couple picks that I thought Cal Preps was going to be wrong on. Let me look at it. The toughest one, Rio Mesa Oxnard was difficult because, both those teams were winless. And, you didn't know whether or not the Oxnard quarterback would be back, which would make a big difference. Simi TO was, John gave me some credit. Our boss, John Catalini, gave me some credit with that because because Thousand Oaks was undefeated and Simi was 1-3, and Thousand Oaks was supposed to win based on, there's just a trend line, and we'll talk about it in a second with Simi Valley. But there's a couple that were tough, but this was, I think, by far the easiest week so far. So
for what it's worth, I don't think I would have made that pick. So double props to you. I think I would have just gone with the easy call, the undefeated team versus the Marmani League Power who's been struggling to start the season. I would have gone with T.O. and so props to you.
You do stick your neck out a little bit because if you make that pick and then you get it wrong, then you're liable to be criticized a little bit, which is part of it and part of the fun part of it, actually. I was on the sidelines at that CBTO game and I was getting it from both ends. So, I was taking some crap, which is the point. It's why we do this. If you write something and nobody responds, then that's, then what are we doing? You want to get a reaction. So it was fun.
Yeah. So you had kind of the game of last week in that TO Simi game.
Yeah.
Tell me what you saw. Like, so completely not fact based. Whatever. I read your gamer, but I wasn't there. But when I was going through trying to find some images for the graphic for this week, going through photos from that game, I saw a lot of Jackson Taylor getting nailed by Isaac Simpson, by some other players. Is that an accurate representation based on the photos in our database, or tell us about that aspect?
I mean, that's Simi's strength, right? That defensive line, not just Isaac Simpson, but also Ryan Bodine, and that defensive front is the strength of that team, especially since there's some injuries at the back end. Simi, that's why I thought Simi Valley would keep the surprising thing is that they've given up as many points as they had in some of these games because that defensive line is so good. So, certainly Jackson Taylor was under pressure. He threw his very first interception of the entire season. He was and that pick was he threw the ball up when everything kind of went bad for TO in the third quarter. That, he was under pressure. He threw the ball up, I think, to Vircher, or might have been to someone else, and it was an easy pick. And it was an un-Jackson like throw. But Jackson himself, Jackson was under a lot of pressure. He played very well considering there was so much pressure, considering they were down the game had barely started and they were down 14-0, and Thousand Oaks came right back. And I was like, oh, okay, here's something, you're playing a minor league team on the road. They've hit you in the mouth, and TO comes right back. And I think it says a lot about Simi Valley that they took that counterpunch and delivered their own counterpunch, went up 24-14. But really, the night was about Connor Petrov, the sophomore, that Simi Valley quarterback who had been splitting time with Dawson Armstrong, splitting plays in the middle of possessions in the first game of the season. They went back and forth. He finally kind of grabbed it. He didn't even start the game in Las Vegas. He comes in off the bench in the second half, has a great second half, almost leads them to victory. And he's been fantastic since. He threw for 289 and 2 touchdowns. The big thing is he hasn't thrown a pick in 3 weeks now.
Wow.
And the key moment of the game was it's 24-21. TO comes back. Jackson leads him. Jackson Taylor throws a fade to who else? Hayden Vircher gets him within 28-21 with a minute left to go, less than a minute left to go in the first half. And you're like, okay, we're going to go into halftime 28-21. Well, there's a short kickoff, a late hit. It gets Simi the ball. They take over Thousand Oaks territory with like 40 seconds left. And Petrov just runs right up the middle, just splits the TO defense. It's the lead of my story. It was an unbelievable. It's like he's almost like spat out of this massive bodies. He just flies right through the secondary of the TO defense. And I'm on the TO sidelines when this happens, and there's players that are like, what just happened? Like, what was that? They were staggered. And so from there, Simi put up a big number in the third and kind of took control. And Luke Sullivan made some plays to kind of keep it from being a blowout. But, I was impressed. I thought Thousand Oaks acquitted themselves well. I thought one of the cool things about Thousand Oaks is I thought they handled the loss well. I was really impressed with rookie head coach Brandon Anderson, his message to the Lancers after the game, which was, when we take it on the chin, we take it on the chin. You learn more in any sport, but especially football. You learn more from losses than you do wins. That's why it's so hard to go undefeated, because without that negative feedback, you don't get better. You don't learn. People ride, the players hide they get overconfident. They stop listening to their coaches. When when you're 4-0 and you take one on the chin to Simi Valley, that I think benefits them going into Conejo Coast play. And where Simi Valley now, they're not quite 100% yet. There's still some injuries. It looked like they may have lost Sal Villa for a little bit. He left the game after scoring an early touchdown. They did get Gavin Hammond back, who's their starting free safety. I think they're going to get back Micah Hanna, one of their starting corners, back this week or next week, by league
That'll be
play.
big.
So they're getting close. But more importantly, the line, which was such a mess the first couple of weeks, the offense, which was such a mess early, has solidified and starting to play well. And I think the line solidifying, getting some weapons back offensively, and now all of a sudden that's why Petrov's playing better, because the whole operation is going in the right place. So it's one of the biggest games of the first half of the season for us. Glad I was there, and it's important because both of these teams have a chance to go really far.
Yeah, kind of a cool way to see the early season play out for a new starting quarterback to kind of take his lumps when some of those, weapons are sometimes there, sometimes not. You have, changes on the offensive line. You have all of these things that he has kind of had to navigate early on and has, done a pretty good job of. And then, as we're getting closer and closer to the games that really count, you have pieces coming back. You have things that make his life a little bit easier. So that's kind of cool. Cool to see. I was over at a different game in Oxnard, catching Del Sol hosting Royal at Oxnard, two teams that had yet to win a game. Lots of hunger there to kind of see some growth. Not necessarily hunger for a win, even just hunger for kind of starting to see improvement and picking things up and getting the principles right. And at the end of the night, you see a lot of cheers on the Royal sideline, a lot of happy faces, and one more week of growth for Del Sol in their first varsity football season. So I think there was disappointment, but I think the energy with Coach Nelson and with the Jaguars right now is it's the whole point of this season was to enjoy it, to have fun in the first varsity season and learn lessons and have building blocks, and they've certainly been doing that. But yeah, it was all Royal in this game. They pick up their first win under Adam Brubaker. Just kind of overpowered Del Sol on the line in particular. That was a focus of our kind of coverage of them coming in, of just how big they were. Caden Williamson, Parker Martins, those stud freshmen also on the line alongside them. And yeah, they controlled the line of scrimmage. I think Royal ended up rushing for over 300 yards total. A whole lot of backs touching the ball in that game. But Landon Murray, junior wide receiver, kind of turned running back in this new offensive system for Coach Brubaker, rushed for, what was it? He had 117 yards and 3 TDs in the 37-0 win. He talked a lot after the game about kind of what it's been like going from being a wideout in a spread offense last year and running routes and trying to beat guys that way, to being one of a plethora of ball carriers in the new style, the kind of the old school new look, as I put it, wing T for Royal. And he's kind of adjusting to it and become quite a weapon for them. So that's kind of the takeaways there.
I'm glad you were able to go out to that because it's the very first Del Sol game that we've covered in person. Mm-hmm. It also gives us a data point with Royal as they kind of get moving, and try to rebuild that program. So, I think that's that was a worthwhile endeavor to kind of check in with those teams and see where they're at.
For sure. Yeah, you want to talk? I guess I can talk a little bit about this Agura Buena game.
Yeah, you take this one, I'll take the next.
Yeah, so we have, not to jump too far ahead because there's a couple kids from this game that we are gonna. Oh, there we go. We're gonna come back to this game because we got somebody special. It's a special guest every week. It's always special these days. So we said special guest last week. It's a special guest this week. Another quarterback. Derek, can you hear us?
There it is.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
Got to unmute. Gotta unmute yourself.
Oh, there we go.
There we
Just
go.
like every meeting we have, morning meeting at the Star. It's like, okay, you're muted again, bro.
Somebody's always muted. Joe, do you want to intro our guest here?
Sure. The guest needs no introduction, but we'll provide one nonetheless. Derek Garcia has established himself as one of the top quarterbacks in Ventura High history. 6'4" senior, has thrown for more than 4,000 yards and 44 touchdowns. He's on pace to become the Cougars' all-time leading passer this season. He's already led Ventura to a Channel League championship, which is how they remember you at Larrabee. And he's committed to a little school by the name of Nevada, Las Vegas. So welcome in. And there's a lot in that intro. So what is there left for you to accomplish, at Ventura High? What do you want to get done here before graduation?
Yeah, I mean, winning another league title is a big thing for us. Going into last year, I don't know exactly how many years it's been, but it's been quite a few years since we won one. And so that was a big thing for last year, and we knew we could do it. And we went out and did it, had a tough league play and won a big game against Moore Park last year, which kind of set us over the top as the number one team and went undefeated in league. And that was a big thing for us. But this year it's the same goal, win league, and that's kind of the standard now for this year since we did it last year. And then going into playoffs, making a run, winning a ring and going on farther. And, so making a big run in playoffs is a big thing for us. We've been out first round the last 2 years. So now that's our main goal, and getting a run in and winning a lot of games.
For sure. So last week when we talked, the story of the week was just what you were doing with your legs, adding kind of a new aspect to your game. I saw you posting about that on social media too, hype about your performances, which is awesome. But yeah, you seem to be kind of adding this new element to your game. We've known you to be a talented passer and somebody who can impact games that way. But tell us about, adding that kind of dual threat element and, the connection to your future coaching staff at UNLV, how that kind of affected that.
Yeah, a big thing this whole off season, like I said before, was a lot of working on my footwork and running and agility and all that. It's been a big focus for me, so that was really cool to see it pay off. In that when I rushed for 4 touchdowns against Camarillo. But that being adding that dual threat factor into your game is always that's a big thing. It makes defenses account for you more with running, and not just throwing the ball and handing it off to your running back and letting him go. They have to kind of account for you, so that puts more pressure on them, and just adding more to your game. So that was a big game for us, and we were down, I think 14-7 at half.
Mm-hmm.
So going out and doing that was a really cool thing, because we couldn't get much rolling other than that that whole game. So going out and doing that and still getting the win by, I think it was like 2-3 touchdowns. So that was a really important thing for us and big win. Camarillo is always a hard-fought game for us, like it was last year too. Came down to the last second, but they're a hard-playing team, and it was a good one.
Derek, so you made news earlier this year when you committed to UNLV. Just tell us about that decision and what attracted you to that program.
Yeah, so a big thing was, probably the number one thing, was the coaching staff there. The quarterback coach and the head coach. Coach Mullen is the head coach. He's been around top programs as the head coach. He's been at Florida in the national championship, the number one team in the country. He's been at Mississippi State in the national championship, and Mississippi State usually isn't a top team like that. So he brought them up and got to that point. So seeing that, getting that winning experience and knowing how to do it was a big thing, but also seeing how many quarterbacks he's developed. I think he has something like 6 to 8 Heisman finalist quarterbacks
Wow.
in his career. So, that just kind of shows he's a quarterback guy. So, getting to play for a head coach like that with experience like that, with winning and developing quarterbacks like that was a hard one to pass up. And especially on top of that, the quarterback coach, he's coached many NFL quarterbacks that are active right now. He's still a pretty young guy. So he's in it, and he has big goals, and he's going to get them. So he's determined, and making his way up as an offensive coordinator this year under Dan Mullen, and that's a big job, being under Coach Mullen and seeing how much he's won, and so that's a big thing for him. But coaching staff was probably the main decision factor, but UNLV has so many other things. They have the facilities. They just have so many resources being in Vegas. Vegas has everything you could ask for. So there's not much that you can't find right there in your backyard. So
including a state-of-the-art football stadium, and you guys
Yep.
were, you were at the game against UCLA earlier. What do you think of that stadium?
Yeah,
Allegiant.
I mean, playing in Allegiant is mind-blowing. Fully indoor field and an NFL stadium. It's just crazy, and seeing that type of facility that they're getting able to play in shows how important they are to Vegas. And it's a dream to play in there. So yeah.
That's awesome. So you guys have started 3-1 this year. You start the season off with your only loss, right? Was to TO, and then you've rattled off 3 straight after that. We've covered you guys a little bit. We were at that Cam game, as you mentioned, but what do you feel like people following football in Ventura County should know about this Ventura Cougars team, what you guys can kind of accomplish this year?
Yeah, every week we're progressing, getting better and better. We have quite a few seniors this year, and those guys are kind of bringing on the leadership, showing the younger guys, the more raw guys how to play, with the experience that we have. But we have a lot of guys with years of experience. We have Tristan with 4 years of varsity experience. We have quite a few guys that have started since their sophomore year. So, that experience helps a lot with bringing other guys up, showing them how to do it, and confidence in those guys. I think that's a big thing for me, preaching on this season to the guys was confidence. And I think when you have confidence, you want to go win. Once you win, you build that confidence, and it makes it more fun. You have more confidence in your play, which makes you play better. So confidence is a big thing, and I think we're feeling good this year. We're rolling right now, and we're progressing each week, so that's a big thing for us.
So I mentioned that you're on pace, to set all these career records, passing records at Ventura. Jack Cunningham set the school receiving record earlier this year. Explain and you're obviously part of that, delivering him the ball. Just explain to listeners how important he is to your offense. I feel like he's one of the more unique receivers that we cover. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about Jack and how that relationship has matured as over the last couple of years.
Definitely. So I've gotten to play with Jack now. This is my second season since he's been at Ventura. Playmaker. But he does things on his feet once he has the ball in his hands, and it's we like to do that with him a lot. Just get the ball in his hands, and it's almost a guarantee of at least a couple yards. So, but get the ball in his hands, and he's a playmaker with his feet, which obviously shows in that record he got. But he also has the reception record. So
single year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but so we like to feed him the ball, get him the ball, and it's easy to throw him the ball because he makes those harder catches. So it's easier to trust him. Um, and he understands the game. He understands defenses. He understands our offense. He's really just the whole package. You can put him anywhere on our offense, even defense if we wanted to, and he'd pick it up just in quick second. But he just knows the game, and he does him, which is big things.
Have you seen any kind of creative ways that any of the defenses you've faced so far have tried to load up to stop Jack? I mean, I have to imagine he's a focal point, that people want to kind of try and slow down.
Definitely. I mean, there's already been like a few games this year where they've double teamed him and bracketed him, where they walk out an outside backer and press him off the line and then line up a corner over the top of him and double team him that way. And T.O. did that first game and he was still getting the ball. He was still getting catches and they still couldn't stop him. So just teams are going to do that all year. I guarantee it. With the season he had last year against them. So we're expecting it and we have our plan around it. So we'll still make it happen with them.
Nice. And then Derek, you got Newbury this week, Newbury Park up there. It's another game. You faced Jackson Taylor earlier this year. It's another game where you're facing off against a big time quarterback, also headed to a Division I school. What was it like facing Brady Schmeigel last year? And, what would a win, Friday do for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've lost them the last 2 years. My sophomore year in playoffs. That was a
great game.
Yeah, it was a fight all the way through, which those are the ones you want to win, but we couldn't pull that one through. But the last 2 years we've lost to them, and they're a hard team. They're coached well. They play good. They have some dudes all around the field. But I think this year we match up with them. Our guys match up with their guys very well, and I think this is a big statement game for us to win it. Last week before league, and you want to go out and win a game like this. Newberry's always a top team, so it'd be a big one to win.
There we go. All right. Well, we appreciate your time. We know you're very busy. You got a lot of work to do this week, and I will see you Friday night at Panther Stadium. That
sounds great.
It's not excited a game we will miss.
You got Joe this week.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Derek.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Great job, man. Appreciate it.
So another awesome quarterback interview to come on, and appreciate Derek and Taylor for spending some time with us the last couple of weeks. We're gonna try and keep doing this because I know I personally would rather listen to guys like that talk than you and I drone on for an hour. So very cool.
And it gives it's also a valuable opportunity. Those guys are going to be in front of cameras, going forward. So they you need that media prep too. I mean, I essentially gave that question to Taylor last week that, okay, I'm going to give you a tough one. Let's see how you do. And, Derek's now 3 years into this. He knows how to do it. He's always been a good interview. So, he did a really good job. So we were on the Agoura game. Speaking of quarterbacks, we're talking about Gavin Gray.
Yeah. 440 yards passing, and 6 touchdowns. He threw up one pick in that game too, but kind of an explosive game from Gavin. Talking to Coach Corrick afterwards, he joked that he has the single game passing record there at Agoura High with 494. And Gavin was
likes to mention a lot.
Yeah. And Gavin, so I never knew that. So when I was doing my call to him, this weekend, I was like, oh, no way. But yeah, so he mentioned, Gavin was kicking himself for not getting that extra 55 yards to surpass him in this game. But he hooked up with Tyler Starling for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. just throwing the ball all over the field in this one. And we had also it was kind of an interesting game just with George Hastings being out. He's going to return after the bye, but was in the concussion protocol. And so you saw some other guys kind of get opportunities. We're going to talk about him a little bit later on, but fellow middle linebacker Cole Ziegler stepped up in a big way, had one of the more impressive kind of, one player outings in a defense that, held Buena, that has explosive playmakers to just 7 points. So, he had a couple of picks. He had 5 TFLs. He led the team in tackles. So, big game for him.
It was a disputed fumble recovery.
A disputed fumble recovery that the coaching staffs helped us clear up. But yeah, so they took care of business. It was kind of the name of the game for Agoura this week. The one touchdown for Buena comes on a wheel route. Jackson Roberts, gets one big play early on in the game, and Coach Cork was saying, like that kind of spooked us a little bit because they were in it, in that the early goings, and then the Agoura defense kind of figured things out and held them scoreless the rest of the game. So another solid win for Agoura, and
it was 52-7.
It was 52-7, yeah, 440, 6 TDs. That's a big night. You want to talk a little bit about you called Coach Clausen this week, yeah? Or no?
So I did. So we got, Westlake. So Pacifica didn't play, so they stuck at 4-0. And then TO lost, so they went from 4-1 to 4-0 to 4-1. The 3 other local undefeated teams, Westlake, Fillmore, and Moorpark, all won. Moorpark had a really strong. They continued to be really strong all around in shutting out Pueblo Central from Colorado. And Fillmore, wiped out Carpinteria 42-6, which is kind of expected. Those teams have been on 2 different levels the last couple of years. And then Westlake had an interesting game. I watched that game on the Thursday night. They're down in Venice, playing one of the better teams in the city section, and continuing to kind of put things together. The moment they beat, what was their second win? But I think they were 2-0, and I looked at their schedule and I was like, Wessex going to be 4-0, 5-0.
Yeah.
And so, because they had CI on there, they had a couple cities. They had, I think it was Chatsworth. And so, there's some winnable. There was a schedule befitting of a team that had gone winless the previous year, and then all of a sudden the turnaround happens, and they're still not, we'll see if they're ready to take on the Conejo Coast League, but they certainly last year it was interesting. They were a team that could do everything but win games. They scored a bunch of points, they made plays, they were entertaining, and they just couldn't get over the hump. Now they're winning all these games, but are they? Do we know how good are they?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that league is just going to be must see TV for practically every single game in Conejo Coast League play for sure. And then please do. Very cool. It looks like we might be having a little bit of technical difficulties with you, Joe. I can hear you in our call, but you're frozen. It seems like. It appears not. Let me see. I'm seeing I'm catching your video and everything in the in this Teams call. Yeah. Let me see. No, I don't think so. Because I'll still be here. Why don't you give that a try? Do. Thank you to our live listeners for sticking with us through the technical difficulties. Much appreciated. It appears not. Well, no, I'm not getting audio from you either. Yeah. So it just cut out just when we were talking about Pacifica. It's still frozen on you. Let me see if I can reset this on the fly. There we go. The people at home get to see the
sausage is made.
How the sausage is made, indeed. This happened when what was it? When oh yeah, we're back.
Nice. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. This happened. I'm trying to remember
what
it was.
Fixing it.
We had to fix it live in an earlier show as well. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, you can see me. You guys get to see how the video podcasting works. You're back in frame. I can hear you. Awesome. Tell us. I'm not sure exactly when you cut out. Tell us the breaking news about Pacifica again.
Oh, we didn't. Okay. Yeah, Pacifica is going to play Hamilton of Los Angeles Thursday at 4 p.m. They were scheduled to play Bishop Montgomery last week, and that game was forfeited essentially when Bishop Montgomery ended their season early, and Pacifica could have taken a forfeit, could have improved, actually same as Hamilton. Both of those teams could have taken forfeits and moved to 5-0, and instead they're choosing to play a game against each other. You know, obviously you'd rather, get the film, get the experience. The kids just want to play football. So, and it's not, this is actually a really good, this is a good match for Pacifica because this is a team that's played Gardena Serra this year, that's played Loyola this year. Those are both teams that lined up against Oaks Christian recently. Loyola played Oaks Christian late in the CIF playoffs last year. So, long story short, Hamilton is a team used to playing teams of Pacifica's ilk. So it ends up being, a good game. They're going to play 4 p.m. on Thursday, which is a little different, but at least there's going to be a 10th game on that schedule. And it, so that means the next game that Pacifica plays, rather than having they would have had 21 days off in between their last game and the opening of Marmoni League against Oaks Christian next week. So it also gets them a little bit of work there going into that, one of the biggest games of their season, if not the biggest.
So three 5-0 teams, one, chance to improve to 5-0 team moving forward. The continuing
Sure.
our kind of theme of the week that we've done a little bit in these wrap ups from the previous week's games. This was kind of the week of the breakout for a lot of local players who, maybe it's not a breakout in their career, but certainly a breakout in the 2025 season.
In our consciousness.
Yeah, you're on our minds. So Rio Mesa quarterback Alec Fontaine, his first year at the helm of the Rio Mesa program, he ran for 77 yards and 3 touchdowns on 7 carries, and completed 12 of 17 passes for 170 yards and a score in that Rio Mesa win over Oxnard, 41-12, for their first win of the season. A player we mentioned earlier, Agura's Cole Ziegler, made the most of kind of having that featured role in the defense at middle linebacker with no George Hastings. He had 2 picks, 14 tackles, and 5 TFLs in the Chargers' 52-7 win over Buena. Royals' Landon Murray, also we mentioned, rushed for 117 yards, 3 TDs, and a 2-point conversion in that 37-0 win for Royal over Del Sol. And then a fun kind of breakout candidate that we learned kind of looking through the stats and talking to Coach Weiss over at Fillmore was Micah Harm, who he's kind of, I saw him in that Fillmore win over Buena. He looked good. He carried the ball a couple of times, kind of there, give Josiah Patterson a breather kind of back, it seemed like. And I was impressed. I was like, wow, this kid can move.
Yeah, he's got speed and power. He's a pretty good running back.
Yeah, and he gets 6 carries in this game, and he turns those 6 carries into 178 yards and 2 TDs. They were back-to-back. I think one was like 50-plus yards, just a big hole opened up by the Fillmore offensive line, and another one was quite long as well. I think fewer than 50 yards, but maybe 35 or 40. So in that win, they improved 5-0 in the 42-6 win over Carp. And then a player that I feel like we've mentioned a lot so far, just, because we've been interested in him. He finally kind of has his moment. Rene Vega, quarterback at Santa Paula, also his first year, getting the start there. He completes 12 of 17 passes for 290 and 4 TDs, 4 passing TDs in the 34-8 victory over Narbonne, who football fans around here remember 2024 Open Division champs. Narbonne had their title stripped for having some ineligible players. So yeah,
they played Pacifica in the state semifinal.
Indeed. So those are our kind of our breakout stars. All of those players were on teams that won games this week. Any of those guys kind of pop out to you, or do you have any thoughts on any of those 5 players?
Yeah, I mean, Vega had made a lot of plays so far with his leg, so I think it's a breakout in as much that now he's, he throws for almost 300 yards. Harm has been in the plays of the week, so we've seen him. He's flashed here and there, pun intended there with Fillmore. Landon Murray is a very important player with Royal, with his brother, the starting quarterback, Preston being out. Ziegler, I covered the Las Virgenes Cup game. Ziegler blocked a punt in that game, and obviously Alec Font was is the story at Rio Mesa, considering he's taking over for JJ Bittner. He's wearing JJ Bittner's number, and stepping into those big cleats and doing his best to fill them. I think those are a good mix. Remember that all of these kids and about 20 other players are available to be supported in this week's Player of the Week poll, which is doing very well. A lot of people are voting. So check that out at vcstar.com or the VC Star app. Vote early, vote often, and let us know if we miss someone, if maybe that we should check on in the weeks to come. The last couple of weeks, I've tried to say every kid in the poll. I'm not going to bore everyone with that long list. Go to the app and check it out.
For sure. This is probably the latest in the pod we've ever had our Deuces stat of the week.
That's right.
But here we are. We're doing it. Midway through the regular season, 13 area teams are averaging more than 30 points a game. Joe, do you know
more than half?
Do you know who the number 1 team in scoring in
course,
Ventura County is.
Wondering if they're number one in the whole section, and I'm trying to figure out without having to click on every single team on Max Preps. But Pacifica is just a shade below 60 points per game, so 58.5. And it seems like every score from Nordhoff is something insane. They broke their single game record with 76 earlier this year. They're over 40. So, and then obviously Fillmore's doing it on the ground. They've just been they just ran for another 400 yards last week against Carp. So, they've really been doing it the old-fashioned way, and we know they can throw it too. So that's your 1, 2, 3 there: Pacifica, Nordhoff, Fillmore. Trying to think of who would be next. Obviously, Newbury Park is up there, but we have 25 area teams. So when 13 of them are averaging more than 30 points per game, we had that week. Was it last week? We had that week where everyone was in the 40s, and we were like, it's like a new, it's
the week
of
new
age of football.
Yeah,
nobody's playing any defense.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. What was it? There was like 2 games that were over 100 total points and 4 games over 90.
54 game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A crazy week.
That a week last week, I think.
Yeah, so, it was.
There's our trend story so far.
So third period, second period's come and gone, Joe. Third period. Tell us about, we call this an all preps, all sports podcast. We've held up the all sports aspect so far. We're gonna just dip into some quick local college football news. So tell us about your Citrus Cup game this week.
Yeah, so the Moorpark College Ventura College football game, is always one of the best times of the year. It's always one of my favorite games to cover. I've covered, as it says in my bio on the Stars website, I've covered almost everything there is to cover in sports, and I really enjoy covering our Cross County Community College rivalry game. It's called the Citrus Cup. It goes back to '68, and this game was super interesting. The really cool thing about community college sports is that I feel like just when you think you've seen everything, something else happens. I mean, it's the crazy stuff that happens in community college sports. It just makes it so entertaining and so worth. It's probably, I would say, the Citrus Cup game's got to be like one of the best, like, bang for your buck, spectator games locally. I mean, the very first play of the game, Devin Tate from Oxnard and Oaks Christian gets knocked out of the game. It was a snap that got away from him. He went to throw the ball away rather than taking a 25 yard loss, and he got hit as he released the ball, and he goes down, suffers what appeared to be an upper body injury, did not come back. So they've got the backup quarterback for Ventura College, Brayson Leone, playing. Later on, Moorpark College changes quarterbacks. Saron Evans, who led the Raiders to their first win of the season last year, had an unbelievable fourth quarter. So Moorpark's trailing 14-0 and 38-14 in the third quarter, but Evans brings them almost all the way back. They got within 38-33 early in the fourth quarter and actually get the ball back and had the ball at midfield with a chance to take the lead. It was a 4th and short.
Wow. And
Coach Stu elects to punt, Coach Stewart, and he said he didn't want to put too much, the pressure on his defense. And I don't know if he regretted it, but, former Thousand Oaks star made the play that, why am I blanking on the receiver's name? Again, it's right here. Made the play that kind of ended it competitively. It was a 55-yard Leon pass to Silas Kemp. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just an unbelievable game. And befitting of the circumstance. It's the first conference game for both teams, but it's the rivalry game. And Evans was 19 of 35 for 236, 4 touchdowns and an interception. Mind you, he took his first snap in the third quarter. So that's his second half stats. Brayson Leone was 22 of 34 for 388, 4 touchdowns, and also ran for a touchdown. The two teams combined for over 90 points and over 1,000 yards of total offense. So, and it was just another, I mean, again, the kind of stuff happens constantly with community college sports. This week, Ventura plays their traditional rivalry game, which is before Moorpark existed, was they called it the Big Game, and that's Santa Barbara City. So Santa Barbara City's in town. They're not very good this year. Ventura is last week they were number 3 in Southern California, number 1 Mount Sac, who Moorpark plays this week, the defending regional champs. They lost last week, so we haven't seen the poll yet, but VC will either be 1 or 2 in Southern California entering this week. So they're starting to, the Pirates are in position to maybe make another run to a state championship game, certainly to another playoff game. So we'll see. And Moorpark is very entertaining. They've got multiple awesome quarterbacks. They've done a really good job attracting talent. They've got a great defensive end from Canyon High out in Canyon Country, who is a beast. So I'm sure they're going to have send multiple kids to big time programs. Ventura does that every year. So anyway, we got to see Cohen Glover ran for a touchdown. Cohen Glover, St. Bonaventure High, whose brother now is the tight end at Thousand Oaks High. He scored on one of the key kind of fourth quarter touchdowns to put the game away for BC. So all in all, awesome night of football Saturday night at Griffin Stadium in Moorpark. And I suggest, get out and see the Pirates or the Raiders if you're open on a Saturday night.
When we say Joe doesn't have weekends, this is what we mean. He's covering a game Friday night. He's like, yeah, I'm going to cover a game Saturday night. Yeah, I'm going to write some stuff on Sunday. Yeah. So
people ask me why I don't cover the Rams anymore. There was a time when it was Friday night football, Saturday night football, Sunday afternoon football.
You're a harder worker than me, man. It takes no.
We love our job. You're a hard worker too. You don't have to pump me up and tear yourself down. There's enough. We can both pump our tires, baby.
Yo, speaking of tires, that reminds me so much. My favorite quote of the roundup was Coach Weiss talking about Josiah Patterson, Michael Harm, all his backs there. He said all those ball carriers are like tires in a NASCAR race. You just pull one off and the next one goes on and you're off to the races. Very, very cool. Sometimes
much appreciated.
I think that was kind of like a throwaway. Like that was after we'd already talked about everything, and he's just like, it just kind of came to him, and I was like, yep, that's what's going in the story.
Fantastic. It's quote of the day, a quote of the week for sure.
So moving on, yeah, we got we promised lots of different sports talk, and we had lots of different sports to cover. So I was manning the interwebs, looking out for scores and times and performances from the Woodbridge Classic. I think it was the 44th annual Woodbridge Classic. For those of you who don't know, one of the most famous and fastest cross-country meets in Southern California. It's down in Irvine. It's where, it's always early on in the season. Teams from all across California and well outside of California will come to Irvine and test their speed and see where they're at compared to some of the top teams in the country. The big story out of this year's Woodbridge Classic, which featured every single one of our top teams except I think maybe Rio Mesa, was listeners will remember from a couple of weeks ago, I told Damani Bell of Westlake I was unfamiliar with your game. I have to say the same for a couple of Westlake runners. The Cruz twins, Anais and Sabina Cruz, two freshmen who Sabina ran the second fastest time of any local. She ran 16:50, broke 17 minutes in the 3 mile course, which is just blazingly fast. She was second only to in a different race, but second only to Ayla Curtis of Ventura, who ran 16:37, which is even more ridiculously fast. Her sister Anais had like a side stitch, and she still finished 9th in 17:40 something. So those Westlake Warriors they're a program that was not in our kind of team rankings, that had one runner in our individual rankings, Rachel Ray Castagna, who was 15th. She didn't even race at Woodbridge. She was battling the flu. So Westlake all of a sudden is on our radar as one of these top teams who maybe could be challenging those Oak Park Eagles, who were the top girls team finish at Woodbridge this year. We talked about Ayla Curtis running 16:37. She was number 2 in our rankings. It seems clear right now she is the fastest runner in Ventura County. We gave Sophia Perez the nod, given her kind of state performance last year, and it seems like right now, yeah, Alo has taken that
responded.
spot. She's responded. I don't know if she reads our stuff. I don't know, but if she did,
does.
yeah. And then on the boys' side, another kind of breakout performer, somebody we had ranked was Agura's Dorian Benning, senior, ran 14:25. For context, J.R. Lesher, who was our boys cross country athlete of the year, won a state title last year at this same race, ran, I believe, in the 14:10s. So not far off that. So he's kind of leading the charge there on a deep Agura squad. He was the fastest local by 14 seconds, faster than Vin Kruger and Sterling White, who were second and third from Oaks Christian, and Vigo Bortolan from Foothill Tech. So Vigo. Yeah, shout out Foothill Tech, the top boys finisher on the team side. It's all about depth with Foothill Tech. Their 5th runner ran 15:20. So it's hard to beat that when you have a number 4, number 5 running as fast as that. And the 4 and the 5, it's kind of the story of this race and the story of kind of the team battle in cross country in Ventura County this year. You have Agura that has, 3, 4, 5 are, rapidly kind of trying to approach Benning's performances. You have Oak Park that on the boys' side finished 3rd. They ran as a pack. Their spread is often less than a minute, often less than 40 seconds. So they're crossing the finish line in clumps, which makes it very hard to kind of break them up in the team battle. And Ventura, that same theme is kind of true. They were our 4th boys team at Woodbridge. Noah Fong and Jesse Zarco, they're 4 and 5, raced to 15:30 finishes behind that big 3 of Noah Sloan, Blake Harris, and Brandon Fisher, who all had solid races up top. Talking to Coach Spiker, he's like, yeah, that's the boys side, the girls side. That's the story. We have, all of these big fast teams have fast number 1s, fast number 2s, often fast number 3s. The question is who's going to be able to have the depth to pull off team wins in these races. So, yeah, exciting stuff there. I think that's all I got. One last thing. Shout out to Channel Islands, Uriel, Texas. He was 4th in the blue boys varsity race. One of our fastest times. He was in the 14:40s. And 3 boys, Matthew Anthony, Sebastian Lopez, and Diego Salazar, kind of helped make up that big scoring punch for Channel Islands. They all ran in the 15s. So they're kind of making their case to be talked about in the same breath as the Venturas, the Newbury Parks, those teams that are kind of challenging those top boys squads.
Let me sneak something in before we're going to still talk about volleyball, right?
Yes, for sure.
Let me sneak one quick thing in just to add to our cavalcade of various sports here. The very first playoff rankings for flag football were released, and Camarillo is 3rd. So it's looking like Camarillo, who almost knocked out one of the top teams in the entire country last year in the postseason in the Division I first. I think it was 1st or 2nd round of the Division I playoffs. Camarillo is looking like one of the best teams in Southern California. They're 3. Oxnard is 12. Ventura is 17. So you're talking we're going to have 2 or 3 teams in Division I. It's looking like we're going to have 2 or 3 teams in Division II, because after Ventura and Eva Agura and Newbury Park. So it's looking like our teams are doing quite well in the first. That's the first ranking, which is about halfway through the regular season. So yeah. So Westlake's also in that second tier. It's looking. So just figure we'd add one more sport to the plate here before we let you go nuts on volleyball.
I love it. Yeah, we are kind of breaking out into every sport we're taking super seriously and focusing on. And yeah, if you're an athlete, a parent, a coach of any of these sports, you got to tune in with us because we got a little bit of everything this year. So yeah, we came out with our mid-season volleyball rankings, which we saw a lot of changes from our preseason rankings that we put out. We have a new number one for obvious reasons. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, you heard me hyping the, that Thousand Oaks, Oaks
It
Christian
lived
volleyball
up to
match. It more than lived up to it. I mean, I couldn't, I believed what I was saying when I said it's the place to be on that evening in Westlake Village. But my goodness, I did not expect it was going to be what it was. So it ends up being
10 match points.
It's something like, I think 10 match points, and we have the final score. So obviously, if it goes to a fifth set in volleyball, it's first to 15 by two points, and you generally see like a 15-9, a 15-12 in a competitive match to be the decider. The final score was 26-24 in that final set. So yeah, just nobody wanted to stop playing volleyball that night. It was a crazy environment. TO pulls off the win. They pull off the win very interestingly with an ace from new libero Leah Curtin, who we talked about as being she was a prolific outside hitter who they moved over to libero because they had so much talent coming in with Hallie Bryce, who played in this match after her sit-out period ended just a couple days before. She served up the ace for the win. Talked to her afterwards. She was very excited about that. And you better believe Oaks Christian's going to be ready for this rematch, which is going to be on senior night for Thousand Oaks in Thousand Oaks.
Wow.
So that'll be exciting. So they take over. Oaks Christian drops down to number two. That was awesome. I can't say enough. That was such a great match. Westlake jumps up from number 6 to number 3. They are 3-2 in the Marmani League, which means we get many more than 3 teams out of the Marmani League just based on rating, because it's such a fantastic league. But they would be a playoff lock right now. They've really kind of built things up. They're an interesting team because you look at their schedule and there's a few teams lower in these rankings that have beat them, but Westlake they've just been kind of consistent. Their performances, almost every other team has kind of like a loss that makes you scratch your head a little bit. Westlake, not so much. They've played well in the matches they've lost, and they've won a lot of them. So they've jumped up to number 3. And Agura is they're the team that's made me look silliest in these preseason rankings. I think they've surprised themselves, frankly. We talked to Coach Brock Redmond over there, and he said, yeah, I mean, it's like we're going to try and compete, but it's the Marmani League. It's tough, and we have all these new players around Kiyomi Kono, the setter, and we'll see what happens. They go from unranked to number 4 in these midseason rankings. They're 15-3. They started the season off like 8-0, something like that. They've beat Newbury Park. They've beat Oak Park in exciting 5-setters. So they've earned that number 4 spot. Cam at number 5. They're the one team that sticks in the same spot. I think they're a better team than they were before, but they've just had some teams kind of jump them, leapfrog them in the rankings. They've beaten Westlake, but they've lost to Moore Park. They have kind of these, they have positive wins and some kind of rougher losses. They do get a transfer from Rio Mesa, Riley Espinoza, back. She's starting to play now, and they've gotten off to this solid start without her. So now they have solid hitters on both sides. This is a good spot to give. We've mentioned Moore Park a couple of times. They're a team that they've got a new head coach in Madison Dominguez, who we wrote about a little bit, and we weren't sure where they were going to be. The Coastal Canyon League, past the first couple of teams, we weren't sure what they were going to be. They started off slow. They're 8-5 now, including 2-0 in league with this win over Cam. So they're kind of creeping their way up. They're our first team not on these rankings. Newbury Park drops to 6, 3 spots from number 3. They're 1-4 in Marmani League play. It's been tough sledding for them once they've gotten into league play. Marmani League's a gauntlet. It's the way it goes. But important to note, they were a team last year that they had a kind of rough regular season campaign, and they get in as the last spot from the Marmani League, and then they go on and they're the team that's
the new system. Yeah,
they're the team that's deepest in the Southern Section playoffs for us. So keep an eye on that. Oak Park moves up a spot to number 7. They've taken down Westlake, and all of their losses are to really solid local teams. All of their local losses, that is. They've lost to T.O., Agura, Cam, and Newbury Park. So, another one that's like they give us the solid wins, and also the losses are pretty impressive too. Royal drops down to 8. they're kind of a question mark. We have to wait and see what happens when they play some of these tougher Coastal Canyon League teams. Next game is against Oak Park, so we'll get a data point there. Ventura, they're an interesting one. They started 1-5, and then they rattle off 8 straight. So they're kind of leaning into their top offensive players in Mia Howard and Gigi Scaglia, who are healthy now. They're sitting at second in the Channel League behind San Marcos, starting to look good, looking like they might be up a few spots in these rankings by the time playoffs roll around. And then there's Bonnie, who they've shown they can compete with even the top league teams. They went to a 5-setter with Westlake, with which they lost, but a gifted team, Soraya Forbes, Sarah Stoney. They are 13-3 on the year, and they are 10th in our rankings. So lots of movement. Nobody stayed in the same spot except for Cam. Who knows? It might be a whole new shuffled deck of cards by the time we do this again. But really fun volleyball season this year.
Great. That all sounds like you're on the ball. I'm glad that we've got someone who's paying such a close attention to all our volleyball teams. So that's good. I remember covering St. Bonaventure Nordhoff in a CIF championship game not so long ago. So the Serifs can certainly make a run in one of those whatever division they're going to be in.
Sure.
All right. So this, as we move to fourth period, this is the quick week. This is the week that almost everybody is on a bye. And don't forget, we actually just added, even though we just added Pacifica. So it's Pacifica at Hamilton Thursday at 4. The Ventura Newbury Park game, which we thought was on Thursday, is actually on Friday. Oxnard at Camarillo is a big all-local game. Calabasas has this incredibly huge test against Los Alamitos, who's like one of the top 10 teams in the state. So they're kind of hoping to put some stuff on film and maybe hopefully not get too beat up going to league play with that matchup. Royal at Wainimi is kind of an interesting deal, similar to the Del Sol game you covered last week, where you got some teams with a chance to win there. Carp Santa Paula, and then another Saturday Channel Islands game. Channel Islands at Bolsa Grande. They played early on Saturday afternoon last week as well. So
I was going to mention this last week. Trip. Shout out to any photographers out at that game, because that lighting's going to be beautiful. I envy you. A lot better than shooting under the lights at 7 p.m.
Yeah. Well, it shows that it takes talent to come up with the photos that you and Joe Lamaya and some of our other photographers come up with. Because it is, especially in some of the stadiums where you've got the old school lights where it's not not been replaced. So it's super tough. I'm out there with my phone, barely get anything done. So, but in terms of this slate, obviously the Ventura Newbury Park game is a big game. Oxnard Camarillo has some traditional impact there. This is like, who's got one more game left ahead of league play. So we turn the page and hit midseason. By the time we get to Saturday, we'll be thinking about the league races.
This is your my girlfriend's training for a marathon right now, and you have a taper. You have a taper before the marathon. You take the training down. You get yourself to rest a little bit. All your little nagging injuries can go away before race day. This is for Ventura County football fans. This is the taper week for you guys. You get to relax a little bit. We got 7 games on the schedule, and then we're going to be hitting it hard in week 6. So rest up. Get ready for some fun coverage from Joe and I moving forward. I don't know that we have anything else to plug, but go subscribe to the Ventura County Star. Go subscribe to this podcast on YouTube if you're watching us here right now. Go follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, on all of the socials, VCS Preps. And just keep supporting our coverage. We love doing this for you guys, and keep engaging with us. Keep building this community around the pod. It's been super fun. So appreciate you all. Joe, you got anything else to add?
No, good job, Don. That was a strong one. We had an interview. We had multiple sports. So yeah, let's get through this weekend, and then we could start really putting. Well, actually, you know what we're gonna do? We could tease this a little bit. You and I will sit down and we will knock out our mid-season top 100
There we
for the
go.
high school football. And yeah, if you have some if you've made it this far in the pod,
You must really
okay,
care.
if you've made it this far, direct message or email joe.curley@vcstar.com, dominic.massimino@vcstar.com. Give us your feedback. We will listen. If you've made it this far in the pod and you send us an email and you reference this, we will listen when it comes to our top 100 and give your opinion some real credence there.
If you have questions
Makes
you
sense?
want us to answer on the podcast, send those. If you have critiques that are funny, we will read them on the pod. I promise. So yeah, just keep engaging with us. Send us a DM on Twitter, on Instagram, at VCS Preps, at VCS Joe Curley, at VCS Dominic. And yeah, awesome guys. Until next time, see ya.